cells to make it look nice from the Chinese side. In reality, it's all rusted, never works, and there's no one around since it's a militarized area. Next, you see the truth. Herds of sheep next to buildings, people fish in puddles, not even lakes, kids swimming in grey water, or a child playing in the leftover sand from construction works. The fields are ploughed manually, lawns are trimmed by hand across the entire country. All of this is because there is hardly any fuel in North Korea, whilst more than half of the country lives without electricity. 56% according to the World Bank. This is how North Korea, the crest of which includes a power plant, looks from satellite, from 11 PM to 5 AM. Electricity is cut even in the capital, which is the reason why there are solar panels hanging from nearly every window, balcony, in front of the house. Even a train is wired to one hanging from the door handle. Locals' reaction to our super modern train is as follows. The real North Korean trains that no foreigner has ever stepped into look like this. The carriages are so old that they can't even be scrapped, but are still used on routes, and instead of air conditioning, it's plastic bottles that hold the window open. People are sitting one on another. There is clearly not enough space. The architecture of all of the towns along the border are very similar to one another. I guess it works as follows. Along the train rails there are trees with some nice painted housing, and behind, it's slums. They are usually fenced so you can't see through, although there are places where the fence is either in ruins or hasn't been built yet, which allows us to see what's on the other side. It is clear that there is more than one family living under the same roof. A building with different roofing means that one family sourced tiles, and that the other didn't bother, and left metal sheets only, and some just piled wood planks. This is what the slums look like from inside. Some wood because no central heating, naked stone walls, plates and belongings on the floor, as there is no furniture. There is no asphalt in the villages, no plumbing. Locals wash their clothes and bathe in the river. These soldiers are bathing after work. You can also see cars running on wood in some areas. This picture was taken by an AP reporter in 2014. Slums also exist in the cities. I'd love to say that they were extinct, but compare this picture, taken by Artemy Lebedev in 2006, and this exact place today from the same point of view. I don't see changes. The only difference is that the fence is made to look like the building has changed colour from white to green. And when I asked my guide what it is, she pointed in the other direction and said, that's where the beautiful lotus flowers are grown. Mind you, people even live in partly demolished houses, half of which is missing, but people still live there. After work, the parks are full of people, sitting on the ground in their office wear, playing card games. Women are also here, but grouped separately, at their own spots. Main thing is to take off your shoes. Koreans have a strange way of resting. Two women are sitting on bricks. Some guy pissing next to the main military museum. Someone's casually chatting on asphalt. A girl sitting on the lawn. These are random shots. The area where a foreigner usually ends up is generally predetermined. This is the most good-looking street in Pyongyang. It's teeming with new builds, including the most beautiful building that I saw here. Our country gives these flats to university employees. Yep, this version of socialistic wonderment is told to everyone, from tourists to foreign government officials. That same street from bird's eye view, around 50 tall buildings. Taking into account that a 9-story building houses roughly 150 flats, although these buildings are much higher, we end up with 25,000 flats. Where do they find so many professors? I struggle to understand, but most of these flats are empty. Absolutely no signs of life, empty balconies. Here is a populated house for comparison. Curtains, flowers, mops, bottles. New builds are for postcards and for foreigners to see. It's the only street where you're allowed to walk, although with security and only for 10 minutes. North Korea strives to make an impression. As an example, there is a nice bright house behind this monument that symbolises prosperity. Now, if you look closer, it doesn't even have windows. No one lives there. It's just a box, built so the background looks nice. Here is a train station looking nice and beautiful. You would never guess that its roof is rotting from rust. Fountains nevertheless work and are nice looking. How much do they cost to run? These outdoor pumps run on electricity, which is like gold across the country. Even the most expensive hotels are sometimes left without it, including the Litz. Typical schools never get shown to visitors. You can see children cleaning the grounds. I spotted this from the 20th floor. Whilst girls wash the fence, these guys take care of the grounds that are clean as it is, so they just wipe air for about 30 minutes. Can't say they're keen anyways. A separate employee makes sure that both students and teachers are never late. Opposingly, this is the school I was brought into. The building looks like a parliament house. Inside is a kind of a school for exemplary children and an exemplary performance on stage. These girls looked a little bit weird to me, so I zoomed in and saw they're not actually playing at all. The music is pre-recorded, and this is just part of the show. Sound comes out of a JBL speaker, which is another hostile company. Next door, kids are on exemplary laptops, some of which aren't connected to the mains and don't have any cables in general. Computers run on Windows 95, but not many people know that North Korea has its own operating system based on Linux. It looks like a Mac OS, but buttons to close and enlarge the window are square instead of being round. Instead of Apple in the corner, you get a red star, which is what the OS is called. This OS makes occasional screenshots of your laptop, saving them to a folder a user can't access. All computers in North Korea, even if you can afford one, must be registered with the police. You have to go to the police station, and then they will come and visit you once every 2 months to check your PC. Moreover, this OS does not open files that were not made on your PC, unless there is a special chip in place. If a company that you work for gives you a USB with such chip, you'll be able to open your files. But if it's a non-chip USB, you won't open even a text file. Internet is not allowed in North Korea. Foreigners and those close to the government have it, but even if you're a tourist, you have to fill in a form with personal details to send an email. Then a specialist will come to power up the dial-up modem. Library PCs have internet and access to 28 internal websites. It's where you can catch up on government ideology, cooking websites, and others. You can even access these on mobile, and North Koreans have access to just one. It has a fingerprint sensor, and they're extremely proud of it. And 4 main apps. Phonebook, an app that has addresses, and since SatNav is forbidden, it just stores street names. Next is messaging, and the last app that lets you receive messages from the government. We can read newspapers via this app. Newspapers, really? As for games, there is chess. North Koreans pride themselves that the phone needs to be charged only once every 2 days, and it's understandable since there is no data. I only saw government officials with these phones, and its cost is around $300. Journalists who managed to test the phone wrote that they checked the serial number, and turns out the phone is made in China, and only OS is set up in North Korea. Don't know if the mobiles are tapped, but they definitely record the foreigners. Each hotel room has a radio-looking thing. I'm really surprised by this, by the level of the country's development and how extremely advanced it is. A typical radio needs one cable. This, though, has a myriad. When I showed this to tapping professionals, they said that's too many cables, even for recording equipment, suggesting add-ons. I cannot confirm if this is tap equipment, but current tech allows for microchips to be attached to TV cables, or even a window, decoding vibrations from glass. I doubt they tap absolutely everyone, but there is definitely an opportunity to do so. It's interesting that the radio doesn't work in any of the hotels. Tourists are under constant control, and even within hotel buildings, you can't just go anywhere. You're allowed to walk around your floor and the first floor. Stairs are banned also. The itinerary of every tourist is planned well before you visit and must be approved by the government. It is then constantly verified by minute, 24 hours a day. I'm followed by 3 people, and I mean followed all the time. I can't even go from my room to a breakfast area without being followed. They meet me and take me there. That's them there. By the way, our guide has that phone I showed earlier. 6 missed calls from the government. It is interesting that it takes roughly 20 steps from my hotel to a restaurant, and still, you see that woman behind me? She'll now just stand there and watch me walk, just in case I decide to turn somewhere else. As a tourist, you don't get any free time to walk around. If you disobey, you risk being deported. Your guides, who stay at the same hotel as you, but with different rooms of course, file daily reports. That woman there is currently doing one. They're all basic guys. For those who can randomly ask you to show your phone. First time it happened, I was in awe. Gave him a locked phone. He didn't know how to unblock it and asked me to show him pictures. Started going through my family photos, but luckily, North Koreans don't know the existence of a recently removed phone. I have a few spare seconds now, and check these number plates out. They are all blue. There are 3 types of cars in Pyongyang. Those registered as companies, blue plates, military with black plates, and the government with white plates. An average local can't afford a car. They start at $4,000 US, and this is too expensive. A rare occasion when a local gets a car, he or she becomes a popular singer, so the government gifts them the vehicle. Top management drives Lexus and Toyota. It is a new class of rich Koreans that we'll discuss later. Whilst common people drive Chinese FAWs and even Ladas, but mainly to go to work only. If you have a car here, you are the boss. Not one car would ever stop at a pedestrian crossing. Even on the most postcard street, you can see how people let the cars pass, and only then cross the road. Outside the capital, it's hard to find any cars at all, and locals walk on the road, not even looking over to check the transport. Riding a horse or a cow is still the norm. The official version of why there aren't many cars around is as follows. The government doesn't allow cars. To eliminate traffic jams? Yes, for the sake of the people. So if it's still unclear to you, Pyongyang is the best city on earth because you can see it from this street. Parks on one side, houses on the other, and only in the middle, the truth begins. One more site that strives to make an impression is the Wonders supermarket. This looks similar to shops we used to have during the USSR. They tell me I can't film inside. Your bags get packed up, and then it's shelved with produce, and prices that will blow your mind. Milk, $3. Reason being is that there aren't many cows, and farms are full of bulls that plough the fields. Locals use dry milk that is then used to make yogurts, sweets, ice cream. Let's try the North Korean ice cream. It has a taste of, no, not strawberry. It's like calcium. In case you're unaware, it's chalk powder. At least it's vitamins. Jesus. It's not great. Tastes like kimchi. Very watery, and not that sweet. The taste of wood. Maybe because it wouldn't stick? No, still some wood taste. Import products are most expensive here. A Nescafe can cost $13. Green tea is $20. Local produce is much cheaper. Instant noodles cost 50 cents. But mind you, the taste is very different. There's no Coke here, no Fanta, no Sprite. Since US products are banned, there are similar drinks. This fake Fanta is 1/7 of a dollar. Hold your applause though. Someone appeared right when I was about to test the Coke, so I've saved it until now, to give you my genuine impression. First difference is the label. A very unstable label with a QR code. Yep, a QR code. Who needs it here? In a country with no internet. A distant taste of Coke, with added other tastes of some car liquid, like engine oil or something, brake fluid. This supermarket is generally for tourists and government officials. Some products are only available to locals. As for example, we couldn't buy a notebook with for school use written on it. It's not the average Koreans that come here either. There's a face control on the doors, and these 2 women tell the security who to let in and who to turn away. Like here, for example. He just tells these people to leave the grounds. Average locals buy produce under bridges. Here, women on bikes sell fruits and veg, and all of them sell something separate. One sells apples, one sells watermelon, lemons, and so on, to eliminate competition. Villagers on this street sell ice cream. Of course, they have markets here also, with bags of rice on the ground, regardless of whether it's rain or snow. Even soldiers sell produce. This one has seaweed. This is an example of a city shop, random black door, and a shop sign. Some, though, don't even have a sign. This is a random porch of a random house. And here, behind some random door, with no signs, is a grocery shop, for locals only. Opposite to a fire extinguisher is the entrance, with a clerk's phone number, in case he's not in. Employees live right in the shop. They have a washing machine, a shower head, with sleeping quarters down the hall. These shops can be found in residential areas, so you don't have to carry produce over a long distance. Groceries are given with ration cards. Everyone has a special card book, and this is how we get groceries. Yes, that's right. So you get rice, what else? Rice, meat, oil, pasta. On holidays we get additional stuff, like sweets and cookies. We also get soap, toothpaste, and chemicals. And even clothes. Is it like a uniform? Something the same that everyone wears? No, just casual stuff. Not pants, but underwear. General stuff. Ties for boys. Main stuff, basically. And if it's some other clothes, then you pay with a book. You have to work for that. According to propaganda, the average wage in Pyongyang is $50, but those who fled the country say it's $5. This is still a lie though. Let's assume that the actual number is $20 to $30. In order to earn more, you need to have a permit to work abroad. The shop that I showed you just now was filmed in the North Korean part of China. To understand how these guys were allowed to open a private shop of a socialistic state, but abroad, it's important to highlight that the Soviet system began to crack as early as the 90s. Breakup of the USSR resulted in a dry-up of oil, coal, and other supplies at preferential prices. From then on, the North Korean government had to pay for everything, in cash and at market prices. A free 700-gram ration that originally included flour, potatoes, and corn got decreased to 492 grams, and then to 180 grams for pensioners and disabled. This is roughly half a glass. This was followed by floods and an extreme hunger began. You were lucky to even catch a rat, and people turned into cannibals, with dead bodies filling the streets. Propaganda states that around 10,000 people died. Foreign organisations state a different number, from 1 to 2 million people. 15% of the population. Women and orphans tried to flee, but the government stopped them by every method. Chinese police captures North Korean refugees.
I also witnessed my first public execution when I was 7 years old. The North authorities want people living in a constant state of fear, so they force us to watch public executions. So sometimes the schools cancel their classes, so all the students could witness the public execution.
To isolate those who tried to flee, a punishment system was put in place that exists even till today. 77 kilometers from Pyongyang, we passed a place called Camp 14. There is a minimum of 6 of these camps, where 80 to 120,000 Koreans are jailed. The camps we know of are Camp Haveren, located 70 kilometers from the Russian border, 300 guards, with prisoners jailed for food theft, for trying to flee to China. Camp 16, the biggest camp out there, located in a remote mountain location with 20,000 life-sentence prisoners, mainly those who were against the government. Camp 14 is the one we passed by. Prisoners work in textiles and on the mines. This is where the famous Lee Sun-ok fled from, after spending 6 years here. She shared stories of rapes, abuse, abortion, and other horrors. She mentioned it in her book later. Camp 11 mostly for females, and according to some, it has been closed. Prisoners here were jailed for prostitution, theft, and flea attempts. The camp is surrounded by fields where prisoners are occupied with farming. These camps, just like places of weapon development, are the most secret in the country. It's only the satellite images that give us a glimpse of them. Most are far from civilization and can be spotted with characteristics like multiple security towers. These shots show how armed soldiers watch over farming prisoners, who later carry stones and wood. Unfortunately, we don't know where these shots were made, and there is a chance it's not even a camp. Things that happen inside can only be shared by those who were there and managed to flee. This is Kim Hee-suk, who managed to speak out once in South Korea.
I went to the prison camp when I was only 13 years old, and I got out when I was 41. My entire family went to prison. Some were taken to the mountains, others were put in different labor camps, all because of my grandfather's one mistake. He escaped to South Korea during the Korean War.
Yeah, in North Korea, the whole family of a criminal gets jailed. Husband and wife are allowed to live together, and there is a school for kids born in these camps. Camp consists of 2 parts. Absolute control part for those doing life, where you won't find ideology lessons, and portraits of the leaders. Prisoners are deemed hopeless and unworthy of North Korean ideology. Everywhere else, though, portraits are a must. In underground carriages, they cover the Made in Germany plaques. Government prefers to tell its people that everything is manufactured locally, while some trains are made in Western Germany. The cult of the leader began to form a year after North Korea was established, up till now remaining one of the pillars of North Korean ideology. Even the country's calendar starts from the leader's date of birth. Formally, it's not 2019 here now, it's the year 108 from the beginning of Juche, which is what the ideology is called. The ideas behind it are that a man decides everything. It doesn't sound bad, prompting you to be independent, but upon application, these ideas are there just to justify the closed state of the country, whilst making its leaders look godlike. Today it's 3 of them, Kim Il-sung, his son Kim Jong-il, and his grandson Kim Jong-un. Every time you pronounce their names, you have to add supreme leader, whilst Kim Il-sung is the son of the nation. Newspapers mention that the leaders can predict weather, and God forbid you fold the newspaper if it has the leader's picture on it. I mean, I tried my best, but don't know how best to fold it. Religion has for a long time been banned and is still not favourable. If you get caught with the Bible, you get sent to a camp. There is a saying that God doesn't help you, and if you bring flowers to the statue of the leader, your life will be full of light. It's the first place where tourists get taken, the 25-meter statues. Our leader is the father of our country, don't you think? That's right. If I'm going through a hard time, I come here. Our leader has not only united the country, but also freed us, became the stepping stone for the country we live in, serving as an example of how to overcome difficulties. So I look at him and think that just like him, I will overcome my personal problems. It's how you calm yourself, right? This is what calms me. It is mandatory to buy flowers on the way to the statue. These flowers are real, unlike those that were bought for kids, which were later returned to the shop. There are rules when you approach the statues. Do we stand here? You form a row, and bow for about 5 seconds, twisted in half. Afterwards, there are even more rules. To enter the building, where embalmed bodies of the leaders are, you have to wear a suit. Then you form a row of 4 people each. Rows with locals are organised by height. Then everything is taken from your pockets. And even this one pill that fell out of my pocket had to be left outside. You have to button up, fully, and walk with your hands in front of you, or along the body, not behind your back. Once you reach the body, you have to bow through